All right.
Well. What's up, everybody? It's me, my man Mike. Uh, we're just getting started here on this beautiful Easter weekend, and Mike, what I thought was going to be a horrible weekend with Philadelphia sports, it turns to be a turnaround nonetheless. For especially your Phillies, they struggled on the road. They got slapped around. They gave up 42 runs, only put up 18 runs. And however, I don't know if it was the banner going up. I don't know if it was Roger Clemens being in the sweet box for his son. I don't know what it was, but this team turned around yesterday, and this is the Phillies that we came to know. That this is the team that we've seen in NLCSs. Put up 5-2. You had JT Remuto had a nice home run. You had the key piece to me is Castellanos. Nick Castellanos with two, not one but two doubles. His plate discipline has been really on point. Is Nick Castellanos? I love everything what I'm seeing from him.
Yeah, I mean, they're showing everything. It was just home cooking, dude. That's all it was. That's all it was. I felt anyway. It was, kind of, yeah. I guess it was the crowd. Everything else got into it last night, yesterday. But listen, they did do what's it called? They did they still left runners on base though yesterday. I thought Zach Wheeler looked good again on his timeout, second timeout, as did Nola. So I'm interested to see. I'll be watching today 4:05. Um,
Yes,
definitely be waiting to see what Bailey Falter does. He out of all the starting pitching, him and Strom, they both had really good.
Strom is very good.
Yeah, they both had really good starts. So, I'm looking forward to it, man. And I think this is, they got the right. How can I put it? They got the right. I guess teams coming in now that they can get right on. If you look at
R-
it,
Here goes our
so
man Austin. What's going on, guys? What's up, Austin? Yeah. Um. To your point though, Mike. Like I said, um, things are different. Like I said, on the road, I don't know what it is. Maybe like you and I now talked about last week. Maybe it was uh, it's still coming off the World Series hangover. It's still trying to adjust to the rules, the new rules, and everything else. Maybe you're still somewhat fatigued from all that. But it seems like to me they've got really, like I said, maybe that's what they needed to do is to come home and feel the electricity of a Philadelphia fan base, and that's to me looks like everything was working for them. Again, uh, you had Wheeler put up 5 Ks yesterday, gave up 5 hits, but also Hunter Green did the same. They pretty much had the same identical numbers as far as pitching. The only leagues, actually, Jose Avado wasn't bad at all. He was actually he mowed them down. Well, the only person I worry about on this team as far as pitching is Kimbrel. After that, from what from the small sample size I got, Kimbrel is about the only guy I worry about.
yeah, I mean, you could worry a little bit. I mean, yeah, he's a little older, but I mean, I think they have to start getting, they got to get stretched out. It looks like they're not stretched. Especially the guys that've been here from a year ago. Um, yeah, Austin, that was a really big hit. JT coming through, but I'll tell you what. How about Sosa yesterday? Comes
Yeah,
up in a
how about
pinch
that?
hitter, and Pat, like this is where this team's going to have to get runs right now until you get guys like Harper back in the lineup. Granted, Reese wasn't there. Reese isn't going to be back. It was great to see him yesterday, being
Right.
in uniform. I looked at a couple things yesterday. I saw the highlights of the Mets, and I thought it was really cool what they did. As much as I hate that trumpet and the song that Diaz comes out to,
Oh,
for them to play the song for him and for him to come out and stand up there and get an ovation from the crowd up there at City Field, I thought was an excellent thing. The Mets did it right. The Phillies did it right too, with coming back and having both Harper and Reese raise that flag. Because if you look at it, those two guys were money in the postseason.
yeah.
So so having them raise it was awesome. I thought the Phillies did a really good job yesterday. And getting back to the 1-5 start, the Phillies really kind of got put I'm not going to say they got put behind the eight ball. If you look at who everybody had to open up against, the first two series of the season in the
Hmm.
division, you know, the Mets played. They're playing. This is the second time now they're playing the Marlins. Okay,
Right.
the Braves had a pretty decent one. I mean, out of the three series they've played so far, they've had to play St. Louis, and now they're moved on to the Padres. But they had a cake, 3-game series. The Phillies didn't. They started right out of the gate with Texas, who has rebuilt their team and
Correct.
look really good. And I think they're going to be a perennial playoff team. Plus, we're 1-9 against them since 2014. Then you go from there right to the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees lost in the ALCS, so you know, and plus the Phillies and Yankees played how many games in spring training this year? So
Right. Right.
again, and it took a really dominating game from um, Garrett Cole on Wednesday for the Yankees to really win. If you like, I listened to the game for the majority of the game, and Garrett Cole and Aaron Nola were going pitch for pitch. It was only like
Hmm.
they scored that quick run in like the second inning, and that one run lasted for about 6 innings before the Yankees started putting more runs on. So I believe the hitting's going to come around. I'm liking the makeup of this team though. I really am. A lot of people have been getting on Castellanos. I think you need to bail off, man. They need to back off a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. Go
Uh,
ahead, Pat.
no, no, no. To everything you said, I want to allude off of. I mean, you were spot on. You were spot on about Reese Hoskins being in that clubhouse because Reese Hoskins being there actually, made the team better. He actually they want, okay, there's our boy here. He's obviously he's banged up. Let's go play for him. Let's go play for Harper. Harper's in there, probably getting people's ears. Hey, listen, guys, blah 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 blah. Let's turn things around tonight. He's been the hype guy. He's been the leader. And that's what you need. And like you said, and going back to Texas, guys who they've kind of turned around teams, bad teams don't stay bad forever. They kind of, rebuilt themselves. And like you said, Texas now bringing DeGrom, bringing some pieces. They have rebuilt themselves to be, we don't know yet. They could be a qualified contender. They
Oh
still
yeah.
good hitting down there. And then, like you said, you go into the Bronx. We all know it ain't going to be no day at the beach. It's going to be a dogfight. And look, and like you said, there's been guys on this team who have struggled. Like I had a bunch of question marks about excuse me, Schwarber, Remuto not hitting the ball well. The only guy I've actually felt so good about has been the X factor into Castellanos. I think his plate discipline has been phenomenal. He's not fishing. He's not swinging at the first pitches. He's actually taking them in, making the strides. He's 2 for 3. What's up, Joey? He's actually looked really, really solid at the plate, and I'm
So
loving all of his. And again, people look for him to smash out of the park. To me, as long as he's getting on base and hitting the small ball, that's all that matters to me.
yeah, and another kid too. I mean, another guy that's playing real good, man, is Bryson Stott. Bryson Stott has been on fire,
Hmm.
and I think the pitching's going to come along. Listen, what did I call Bailey Falter all last year when they were going through the rough times? I called that kid the stopper.
Right.
I called him stopper because every time he pitched, the Phillies had a chance to win. Either they won or they had a chance to win. Bailey Falter gives them really good innings. The kid's an innings eater, and
Right.
I think it's going to improve. And I can't wait to see Taiwan Walker start again because I think he's going to have a better one. I think he's going to have a better, you know.
Yeah. Let me. I'm gonna hop back on. I'm gonna try to contact Connor. Just take over for me, Mike.
You got it, man. Go ahead. So leading on to this Phillies game yesterday, our boy Joe Sullivan, you can check him out Monday nights on the Sully Squad, as he put up here. He said, "Let's sweep this Reds team and string wins together." Joe, I'm in a total 1,000% agreement with you. I think we can. Um, but the key to beating the Reds is getting past the starting pitching. They have very good young starting pitching. Um, I took them as a surprise team because I am not sold on anybody in that division. That division's horrible. If anybody watched that Pirates game yesterday, you know what I'm talking about. Jesus God. But uh that so yeah, I this Reds team, if you can get past their starting pitching, their bullpen is not left to be desired for. You can definitely hit on them. And I think the Phillies proved that yesterday. They got to that bullpen, hit 2 home runs. So it's definitely something that we can that the Phillies can build off of going forward. And like I said, I like the matchup today. Bailey Falter, man. We got to start winning series. And the only way you win a series, you take the first 2 games. So I like to see the Phillies take the first 2 games of this series. Here's our man Sean Kilrain checking in. He says, "What's up, guys? Nick Castellanos' home opener is exactly what the Phillies needed from him this season." Sean, you're 1,000% right. For some odd reason, when it comes to Castellanos, he sees that red uniform across from him, and he just plays. He just plays. That's it. That's exactly what they do, man. He has tortured them, man. Sean Kilrain says Nick Lodo is a solid pitcher. He is. All three. The Phillies are getting the Reds' 3 best pitchers in this series. Okay. Which, if you take a look coming up, and you guys are going to have to really think about this too going forward, every team that the Phillies are playing, you're probably going to get their 3 best starters, or at least 2 of the 3. They're going to match up that way. The Phillies went from them winning the National League pennant last year, they went from being the hunters to the hunted. So now people are going to be trying to get after them. So I don't see an issue with it. I really don't. They get to this Reds bullpen again. I think they can do some damage against this Reds bullpen. Look for Castellanos to start heating up a little bit more. You saw JT get a big hit yesterday. Bryson Stott's still tearing the cover off the ball. Schwarber had a nice day. And, of course, Trey Turner. God, what can you say about him? He's been everything that we've asked. He's been as advertised. So it looks like it's money, well spent there. My only issue with the Phillies right now is the pitching. And I mean by, some of the starters, but that middle relief. Pat was saying earlier when he was on, the only guy he kind of questions really is Kimbrel. I think Kimbrel's been around long enough. He's just getting his arm going. I think it may take him a minute. Because if you look back early in his career with the Braves, he was kind of the same way. Early in the year, he really wasn't much good. But by the time he heated up, he was darn good. So between him, Sir Anthony, these Phillies pitchers that were on the team a year ago, not these new guys that came in, but these guys that were on the team a year ago, you got to give them a little bit of time. Reason being for that is they pitch longer than anybody else in the league, other than the pitchers that are on the Houston Astros, which, by the way, if you take a look, Houston's struggling as well. So the 2 teams that were in the World Series last year kind of got off on a little bit of a rocky start. It's not to say that the Phillies can't go back. I mean, the Dodgers just did it a couple of years ago. I think the Dodgers went 3 straight years of the World Series. So they can most definitely do it. Houston in the American League has been to the World Series, I think, 5 out of the last 6 or 4 out of the last 5, something along those lines. They've been there. So, getting back to the World Series, I mean, it can be done. The Phillies just got to tread water right now. They got to stay within striking distance. Atlanta has started out hot, which to me is great. Please start out hot because, as we all know in baseball, this will not keep up. The Mets are struggling out the gate right now. They're sitting at a 5-4 record. They've had some injuries. God, now Justin Verlander, who never gets hurt, is on the 15-day DL. So, here we go. And they got to stay healthy. I mean, they got 2 starters out of their starting 5, Quintana, and now Justin Verlander.
All right.
I believe Pat, we got a guest, don't we?
Yes, we do. We do got a phenomenal guest. Listen, you guys can catch him every morning from 6 to 10 a.m. on the 97.5 The Fanatic as he hangs out with John Kincaid, Bob Cooney, and my man Pat Egan, Eegan Egan. Here he is, and sometimes he does a great job filling in the afternoon show, the best show ever. Here's my man Connor Thomas. Connor, what's up, dude?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on, brother?
Not much, not much.
Hey, listen, Connor, a little sloppy start, a sluggish start for the Phillies. We get out, obviously get slapped around the road, giving up 42 runs, giving up, only coming up with 18 hits, 18 runs. What is it that turned around this team yesterday? It looked like we came back to the NL champions that we expected to see yesterday compared to what we saw on the road. What was it
Yeah,
to you?
well, it's all about who they're playing. First of all, going on the road is always a tough way to start the season when you're trying to figure out what a team is. You have injuries, and then all of a sudden you're in Texas, a place where the Phillies haven't played well in like a decade. And then you go to New York to see a really good Yankees team. I mean, the skill level difference between the first two teams the Phillies played this year and the Cincinnati Reds, who they're going to see two more times, and then later on this next week, it's a huge gap. So I think part of it is you're just playing competition that's not on the Phillies level, and you started off the season in a tough spot. The injuries are a concern, but I kind of expected a bit of a rough start to the season, at least against New York, maybe not so much against the Rangers. And it's just you get home, you get more comfortable, you get to play a game in a ballpark you know better, and you get that home fan base that we know the home Philly crowd support and how much that plays in. I think that got the guys on track yesterday. We should see a good rest of the series from them.
Yeah,
Cool.
and yeah, Mike.
Connor, I got a question for you. This Phillies pitching staff, are you concerned with the back end of the bullpen? Pat had brought up, what's his name?
Kimbrel.
Yeah.
My concern on that pitching staff is Soto. That guy to me is night and day. He's bipolar. Like one game he's real good, the next game he's all over the place.
Exactly.
And either guys, can they straighten out over time?
Absolutely, they can. Now, Kimbrel, I think, is over the hill. I don't know how much more he gives you. He was all right yesterday. Got a little interesting in the ninth, but he got the job done. But my thing with Soto is that guy you just described. Doesn't that sound like Jose Alvarado from about a year and a half ago? Like, you've seen that guy work here before with Caleb Cotham and this pitching coach staff. So he's just got to figure out the command. And he's younger than Alvarado is. And he's a guy who's had success in Detroit. I mean, he's a two-time All-Star already in his career. I think Soto's going to be really good for this team. I think it's just you got to work with him the same way you did with Alvarado. But Alvarado's turned into one of the best relievers in baseball. So I'm not worried about Soto. Kimbrel, I don't think he should be in the closer role because I just don't think he has that much left in his arm at this point in his career to be in big situations like that. I see him more as a seventh or eighth inning guy. But I think Soto, when everything's all said and done, is still going to be really, really good for this team.
Yeah, and same here. It's like when we look at this team, and like I said, I think they're going to start coming around. I think playing in the World Series kind of left it with some fatigue into their game. I think that kind of carried over when they hit the road. Now, like you said, they obviously struggle with the Rangers. It was proven all, like you said, for many years. Then they go into the Yanks, like we all just said, it's no day at the beach. But when they come home, like you said, they have found electricity. And I think maybe because of Reese in the dugout, because he's being there, everyone sees what he's going through. He's being a team lead, being there for a team. You got Bryce up there being a team leader, getting everyone involved. I think that all played an X factor in it. But however, have you been impressed, Connor, with Nick Castellanos' plate discipline?
Not as much as I thought I was going to from the spring. Now, he had a nice day yesterday, but some weird thing. He always plays well against the Reds. He played really well against them last year, the times the Phillies saw him. Part of that may be the fact that they didn't have any interest in bringing him back after an all-star starter year, which was weird. But that organization is a trash organization up there in Cincinnati. So I don't know what Nick Castellanos' deal is. I know yesterday was a nice day. That's a good thing at home because he said last year that he hadn't felt comfortable in Philadelphia at points, and playing well at home shows that he's getting to that comfort level. But he's a guy that I'm not ready to jump to conclusions until we see about a month or two of what he is, because he's going to have bad strikeouts, but he's also going to have days where he hits two big doubles and he becomes a big part of the reason the team won. So he's a mixed bag, and he's not probably the player. You know what he's going to be very like to me? He's going to be similar to Tobias Harris, in that the money he's making is not going to be indicative of the numbers he puts up. But with how talented this team is, he could play an important role that he may never get the love of the fan base the way we thought we would give him when he first came here. But he can be a good part of this lineup if you don't worry about the amount of money he's bringing in every day to play for him.
Correct. And I got another question too. Mike, you want to go down? You all right?
Yeah,
I
disagree with you just a little bit, only because am I still freezing?
No, you're good.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah. Got it loud and clear.
That's weird. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah.
You're
So
good.
my question is, with Castellanos, I disagree with you just a little bit because I seen what he was able to do in Detroit and in Chicago prior to coming to Cincinnati, where more or less like he didn't really have a lot of guys helping him, with the exception of like in Detroit he had Miguel Cabrera, of course.
Right.
But when he was in Chicago, he didn't have nobody, and he was really hitting for power. I think the power is going to come back. I just think last year was just kind of an off year for him because he's put up numbers everywhere he's went.
Yeah, I'm not saying the power won't come back. I'm saying for the amount of money you pay him, like he's getting a very similar amount of money to Kyle Schwarber, who led the National League in home runs last year. When you bring in a guy like that, you're saying we're paying you to be an all-star for this team. I don't know that he'll ever be an all-star again. Now, does that mean he can't hit 20 home runs this year? No, he can do that, and he can show off the power. I just think the expectations when he signed are going to be underserved just because of how much money he was owed on the open market. And somebody else would have paid him. The Phillies aren't overpaying him. He would have gone somewhere else and gotten that money. It's very similar to the Tobias Harris thing in that he's going to be better than a lot of people give him credit for. The power could look good, like you're saying. I just think because of the paycheck, the fan base is there's always going to be a section of the fan base that says, why isn't this guy hitting 30 home runs, 78, 80 RBIs, and being an all-star for this team, which is just, it's not realistic for the player he's been for most of his career.
Right. And to piggyback off both you guys, I kind of go with, like you said, it is a lot of money he's getting paid. However, I take it he's just your get on base, hit small ball. That's where I got him and Alec Boehm in that kind of realm where I could kind of rely in my brain. I kind of rely on the Bryce Harpers and the Kyle Schwarbers to hit that. Now, obviously with him being, with those, obviously with Harper being dinged up, I kind of, put all that stock on Kyle Schwarber to come up with all the power bats. But I need to start seeing, he's been hitting and getting on base too. I like to see a little bit more power from Trey Turner as well.
Well, hey, here's what we've got for sample size, right? Because you play in Texas, and there's that weird jet stream that takes balls out to right center. We saw that on a couple of the Rangers home runs, and even on Alec Boehm's against DeGrom. So that's a weird place, but that park can play big. And Yankee Stadium, the weather wasn't great. We know it's a small park, but it wasn't ideal hitting conditions. It's not going to be anywhere for another month, at least in the Northeast. But in one game in Philly, in the small ballpark that we got here, 2 home runs. JT hit a nuke. Edmundo Sosa added 1. If they can hit 2 a game, which they're not going to hit 2 every single game, but what we've seen at home is more important to me than what we saw in those first 2 series on the road. And yesterday, you got a little bit of power from some guys. So I think they're going to be all right in the power department, even if it's not just Kyle Schwarber or JT Realmuto or those top guys going yard every other game.
Absolutely. And so let me pick it back to the pitching aspect. So, Zach Wheeler goes 5. He gives up 5 hits, but also puts up 5 Ks. Are you still a little concerned about the pitching, starting pitching with this team?
No, not really. I wasn't even prior to this series happening because I think they're in a weird spot where these guys need to get stretched out a little bit more than your average pitcher because how long the season went last year. Like they're all working with a career high number of innings last year when you're looking at the starters. So, and Zach Wheeler was really, really good yesterday. That was an encouraging performance from me. I would not have put him back out there for the 6th inning because he was at 80 pitches already and the weather was not good. Like it was cold over there today. I don't know if either of you guys made it down to the ballpark, but it was not exactly a warm opener. On days where it's a little bit colder early in the season, you want to have a little bit of a quicker hook on pitchers. So if he had gone out when I wanted him to after 5, it would have been 5 innings of 3-hit, 1-run baseball. And you can absolutely take that for a second start of the year. Nola's going to be fine. Wheeler's going to be fine. Taijuan Walker's underrated. And once you get Ranger Suarez back healthy and Andrew Painter back healthy, this rotation is going to be something serious.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the rotation with this Phillies ball club is going to be nasty. If there's anyone, if with any kind of concern I have, would be Kimbrel. But other than that, I would just be, I'm sold out on this team. Just like I said, I needed maybe to see a little bit more power bats from a couple guys. But I think like Mike said, that's going to come with time because it's not even hitting season yet. So I think that's going to come in time. With like you said, with all the Phillies stuff that's going to go on. So what do you think though with the I know everyone's been talking about as of late the clock management thing, the clock time, only getting 15 seconds. Has that affected the Phillies more than any other ball club?
I haven't really noticed it. It's so hard because until a player comes out and says, or a pitcher rather comes out and says, "Yeah, I felt really rushed with that the pitch clock," you're not going to know whether or not it really affects them. I think a lot of people see like Aaron Nola struggling in an inning and immediately point to the pitch clock because he naturally works a little slower. But it could be a whole bunch of different things. So it feels like it's a little bit of low hanging fruit to grasp at the pitch clock this early. And
No.
JT Realmuto said one thing after opening day where he felt a little rushed trying to get pitches in with Aaron Nola. Other than that, you really haven't heard anything from any of the Phillies players actually playing. I know Bryce Harper mentioned it, but he hasn't played in a game with the pitch clock yet. So I'm not too worried about that right now, and I don't think it'll affect the Phillies any more than any other team.
Right. Mike, you got a question? Mike, you there? Are you sleeping?
Yeah, my question is, can you hear me? No.
Yeah, I got
Can you
you.
hear me? Can you hear me?
Hmm?
Well, go ahead. Gotcha.
Yes.
Not Pat. Too busy stuffing your face. You
Oh man.
say this on Sunday mornings, kind of. But my question is, Turner could be the MVP this year because to me he has been everything has been advertised, not so much offensively, but that play he made yesterday, he made a play on a ball going up the middle where he just threw it behind him to Bryson Stott. Like,
Yeah.
What did we get with Trey Turner?
You got the best player on this ball club. He is the best player on the Philadelphia Phillies, and that's even if Bryce Harper is healthy, simply because he's a more complete player. He helps you every instance of the game. There'll be points when Bryce is fully healthy, if he plays right field this year, where you'll say, okay, a plus right fielder makes that play. Or I wish he didn't make that throw to this base or whatever. No, Trey Turner is just an all-around exceptional baseball player. If he's going to win MVP this year, the power numbers are going to have to show up. Hasn't hit a home run yet this year through 7 games. So that's going to be something that has to develop. And that's something that comes later on in the season, especially when you play in Philly because of the weather early on. And he knows that playing in Washington early on in his career, very similar weather patterns. So, yes, he could win MVP. He's going to have to hit probably about 25 home runs to do that and play exceptional defense and bat about 300, which, I mean, it's a tall task. But to this point, he's shown me everything I need to see to say that he is as advertised as the best shortstop in baseball.
Wow. I mean, I like it. So, with that being said, though, up until I would say recently, Kyle Schwarber, I guess, is now adjusted to, not being the leadoff guy. Does that make him feel somewhat uncomfortable because he's not that leadoff guy and he's not, he's not getting the production like he was when he was the leadoff guy? Do you think that there's something mentally in his head with that, or do you think he's starting to come around to this is his spot now?
I think that's super overplayed. The whole Kyle Schwarber needs to be leadoff thing. That narrative is kind of taken off. I don't know that Kyle Schwarber has ever gone to Rob Thompson or back when it was Joe Girardi, this organization in general, and just said, I have to bat leadoff. I can't bat somewhere else. Now, I think he puts up better numbers comparatively when he bats in that leadoff spot, but I don't even know that it's mental for him. I think it could just be that he sees pitchers early on in the game trying to just get over strikes and he takes advantage of it. I don't know that the numbers will be the same from the 2 spot, but if they aren't, I hesitate to say it's just because he's batting in a different spot. Because you remember, he came up in Chicago with that Cubs team that ended up winning in 2016. Joe Madden changed the lineup all the time. Pitchers were still hitting back then, and he would have his pitcher bat 8th every once in a while. So he played well in a system where they moved him a lot. I don't think it's as much mental as people would have you believe. It doesn't mean the numbers are going to be the same, but it goes back to the pitch clock thing, right? I'm not just I can't easily point to, it's because he's batting second and say that's why he doesn't hit 46 home runs this year.
Correct. So I got 2 more for you. So you're at the game. I know you're covering the team now. You're always, down at the ballpark. What is your go-to meal at the park, Hunter?
Wow. It's a tough call because upstairs in the press box, we have a little press dining area. And what's nice about the home opener is it's free lunch. So you can go in there and eat for free, but normally it's $10. So I'm like, I'm going to spend $10. I can get lunch up there and do like chicken tenders or whatever. I really like Colby's. It's Ryan Howard's fried chicken place, chicken sandwiches and everything. Colby's is incredible. And there's one right down basically behind home plate on the first base side that I pop into that's right next to where I go up to the press box. So that's probably the go-to. I get the big piece sandwich from there and crush one of those up in the press box while I'm watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, last year, me and Mike here, we went to the season opener. We tried out the peanut butter and jelly cheeseburger. I mean, he didn't like it because he's a wimp, but me, on the other hand, I'm just a professional slob, so I'll just down anything,
Love
and
that.
yeah, so I want up just just tearing it down. So,
Tell the truth.
um,
Tell the truth. Tell the
yes.
truth. Tell the truth.
What's
Don't
that?
be on here fibbing. Tell the truth.
Well, I
He
did.
did
I
not.
ate it.
He got. He did. He wimped out, Connor. Don't let. He wimped out. It came with a habanero jelly, and he didn't get the jelly on it. He wimped out. The guy
That's fine.
wimped.
I don't do spicy either. I don't do spicy at all. So if I see habanero,
Thank you.
jalapeno, anything, I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
passing on that.
Haha, Mike. But listen, one more question for you. So
It was
today we have.
my,
Okay, Mike. Yes, Mike. But listen, we have the
I was just
Union
going to
taking
say
on Cincinnati
Montrose Dieter, Campos.
Campos.
Campo's a good pick. Campo's a
Yeah.
good steak.
Hey, look, listen. I'll tear anything up. No problems. No problems asked. But look, Connor, we have Cincy taking on the Union. We have the Reds take on the Phillies. Give me your bust out favorite Cincinnati athlete.
Favorite Cincinnati athlete? Man, that's a tough one. See, I might have to go with my generation. The first guy that pops into mind is Joe Burrow because he's like the hot Cincinnati
Yeah.
athlete right now. He's awesome. I loved him at LSU. That's one of my favorite college teams of all time was that LSU team that won it with him and Jamar and Justin Jefferson. Like they were unbelievable. Yeah, it might have to be Burrow. But if I think back a little bit, I'm trying to see. The tough thing is my mind mainly goes, you know who I really liked back in the day? TJ Hushmanzada when he was back there with the Bengals. That dude was nasty back when you're talking early 2000s, like fantasy. And when I got into fantasy football, that was the guy I loved to pick up. So there's an older pick and a new school pick for you.
Yeah, I thought you might have gone Pete Rose, Brett Boone. I mean,
They're before
those
my
are,
time, man. They're
yeah,
before my time.
yeah,
Well,
yes,
28 over here.
yeah. I forgot. Yeah, I mean, you guys are some young cats. You, Tunis, Egan,
Oh,
and man,
God.
Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean. So, but like I said, those, like I said, were some of my favorites growing up. Here goes our man. You know. Oh, here goes Sean Kilrain. He checks into the show. He's like, "Do you think we trade Christian Walker for Arizona first baseman, or a stick with what we have?"
Yeah, trades aren't coming soon, guys. I understand the Derek Hall injury sucks. And
Yeah, pushing
I,
the tank button.
I'm going to tell you the same thing I told people when Reese Hoskins went down. It's too early in the season to make a trade. You are going to get absolutely bent over if you call a team right now and say, I need your starting first baseman. Because the worst a team could be right now, and there's no 0-7 teams, but like the worst you could be is 0-7 right now. That's not a bad enough start for teams to just like panic right off the. It's early April. We haven't even hit Easter yet. So if you try and make a big trade ahead of time, they're going to say, okay, send us Griff McGarry and a player to be named later, and you're going to be out one of your top pitching prospects to what? Add a guy for a month until Derek Hall comes back to see if he can play. It doesn't make sense to make the trade now. This team is good enough to withstand having to kind of piecemeal a first baseman rotation together. And then in a month, when Derek Hall comes back, we can get that squared away. Or if it's longer than that, you can address a trade later on in the season. But right now, you're not calling anyone for a trade. It's just too early on in the year.
All right, well, look, guys, there you have it, Connor. I want to say thank you so much. We appreciate you having you on. Like I said, you get to talk with my man Mike Lara. Of course, yours truly, Pat from Ambler. I miss calling into the program. But me and Mike have run this podcast. So
Yeah.
Like I said, I want to say thank you to you taking some time out to hang out with us. Sometimes we're gonna make you laugh. So that's the one thing about hopping on with us. We'll make you laugh. But anyway, like I said, I want to thank you so much. And guys, anyone checking out there, check out Connor. He's always on 6 to 10 with John Kincaid, and sometimes, like I said, he's all over the place at 975.
I'm a busy guy.
You are a busy guy, Connor. I mean, and listen, when you're going down the games now, on make sure the shirt's on. No more. You can't.
I'm wearing my shirt the whole time. I can't be doing that when I'm working. But yes, I'll be good to go. But no, thank you guys for having me. This was fun. Let's do it again sometime.
Oh, yes, we definitely will. Guys, again, check out Connor Times. Great guy, great follow. Go follow him on Twitter. Go follow him on Instagram. He's all over the place. Thanks so much, Connor.
Yep, you guys take it easy.
See you. Well, listen, guys, that was Connor Thomas. Great guy to listen to. Catch him in the morning. He does a great job with the morning crew. Uh, Mike, tons of fun. I think we always put a good laugh. Whether it's ripping on each other or some idiot checking into the show. But we always do a phenomenal job doing that. But look, Mike. Not only the Phillies are wrapping up, but we got a couple teams. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to the people out there. Me and Mike love our Flyers. We love them to death, no doubt about it. But we all know it. They're eliminated. There's no point in talking about them, and it pains me because me and Mike again
Well,
Mike grew up in the '80s.
You can't say that there's no point in there's
Mm,
there's
I
no
shouldn't
point in
say
saying
that.
you can't talk about them, Pat.
No,
Listen,
I shouldn't say that. But
real
there's
quick. I'm
nothing
gonna
going
log
on.
off real quick and try to log back on.
Well, that's so fine because you know what? I got somebody who's going to keep me company. So get out of here, you little weasel. But anyway, well, Mike's working out all of his lag issues and all that stuff. I'm going to bring on a man who's got some knowledge, who's got bigger brains than Mike. Well, it's not hard. I know a 7-year-old's got bigger brains than Mike. But anyway, I'm going to bring on somebody who knows their lacrosse and to man all the way up in Connecticut who knows his stuff. Let's bring on my man Muffler Mike. Muffler Mike, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, Mike, you saved me from carrying dead weight. No, but listen, Mike. Last week, prime time, the Philadelphia Wings get into a showdown with the Rochester Nighthawks. I mean, I was there live, and from what it looked like, right, the Wings were ahead. Joe Ratis was doing the dirty work. He was carrying the team. He was making excellent plays, finding guys open. He was really your MVP, and you got to see the Catoni brothers bash it out. And Tay Catoni was really your MVP, a unsung hero. He came up huge, making some key plays. That intermission comes to an end. Mitch Jones said there was a locker room speech that was going on, and he just ran with it. And he made 2 back-to-back goals, made a breakaway. He was just really being, again, guys were making big plays, and then of course they took their foot off the gas pedal like normal, and then Joe Ratis came up and made that overtime goal. So, but what do you see from this Philadelphia Wings team?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see a lot of grit. Um, I think it's been building, ever since they traded for Mitch Jones. Just you can see, just the offense is more dynamic, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a big part of it. I mean, he's up to 105 points on the season now, which is actually third in the league behind Dane Smith and Jeff Teat, and he's second in the league with 70 assists. So, I think he's had maybe the benefit of maybe playing a few extra games because
Mm-hmm.
just because of the fact that he was with Vancouver and their schedule was front loaded a bit. So, when all is said and done, he's probably going to have more than 18 games played on the regular season. But the numbers are definitely speaking out. For certainly, I would think possible MVP consideration, especially if they make the playoffs and make a deep run.
Right. Well, it seems like Mike's playing mouse here, but no. But he's having some little difficult issues with his because, like I said, we just literally got hit with a thunderstorm down here, so I know what
Okay.
he's been going through. Trust me, I went through a thunderstorm of my own. But anyway, yeah, like you said, they're playing very well though. This Wings team, and for what I thought, this team had no chance, and then they're sitting there, but they're hovering around a playoff spot, which is good. And I saw a couple of the schemes that the Rochester was throwing out. It was effective, because what they would do on offense, they would set like play scheme plays where they would have 2 guys. Set up an odd man so where the other guy couldn't make the adjustment to go play defense, and they would take wide open shots and they would make them. So that's where they were really really having success on the offensive side of the defense side, or no, I'm sorry, the offense. was your Rochester Nighthawks. They were really, but I think Paul Day just adjusted to that, and their defense adjusted. Okay, you guys want to set up schemes. We're just going to adjust it. Every time you leave someone open, we're going to shut him down, and that's what they did. And that's what it looked like to me from what I saw from the press box. Like they found ways to shut that defense down, and then Rochester really didn't have an answer for 2 quarters. Through the second and third. And like I said, they got a little. They found some stuff with Ryan Smith going behind the net and making some making some plays there. You got Connor Fields making plays for them. It was someone you had to keep your eye on. But they didn't have enough, I think, what the Wings were throwing out. And now this is twice now that the Wings got their number, and now the Rochester Nighthawks are facing a 3-game losing streak. What's going on? Are they going through a slump?
Maybe a little bit. They have been a bit banged up. They've a couple of key guys on defense have been out for some stretches. Thomas Whitty, Dan Coates is back in the lineup, but he was out for a while. I think they haven't had one of their transition guys in Corey Highfield for most, if not all, of the year. So that's been a big blow. But I mean, they've still been able to excel with guys like Ryland Reese, with Brad Gillies in transition. Honestly, even Paul Dawson, who's up in his late 30s, the captain has been able to make a difference, both on the back end and towards the front end. As far as their issues, I'm a little bit at a loss, because they have been coasting, but at the same time, we spent a good chunk of probably the middle third of the season, wondering, hey, when are they going to fall off a cliff? When are they going to, have this horrible downturn after, starting the season just on fire, really, unexpectedly. They did have, they did have a big win over Buffalo. They did have a big win over
Mm-hmm.
Toronto early in the season. That kind of turned some heads. And for the most part, they've kept up that play. I would suspect, obviously the Wings are off this weekend. The Nighthawks are playing at home, I believe, against Albany tonight. So my colleague Gary Grube, I think, will actually be there. He's going there for the Rochester Bats game as well.
Nice.
So he'll be there tonight. I would expect, given how Albany has been, I would expect Rochester is probably gonna cruise to a win here. It won't. I don't believe it'll officially lock up a playoff spot for them, but just because there's a bunch of teams that are off this week. But
Yeah.
honestly, they're more or less, because they're going to have that 10th win, and I think Sean and Gary and I have been talking for a few weeks now about how you're going to have to be at least 9-9 on the year to have a chance at the playoffs. And part of the reason I threw the Seals jersey up there is if Rochester obviously wins tonight and does more or less lock up that 3rd seed in the East, now you're looking at either you got to come out and have a better record than Halifax by the end of the year, or you need to hope Georgia falters, or you need a few different things to happen in order to either get that 4th seed in the East or get that wild card. And again, the reason I have that up there, maybe it's not such a bad idea. I'm not saying the Wings, need to maybe, consider, not going all out, just so they can end up in the wild card. But if you're
Yeah,
in that,
but
if you're in that wild card position, now you're playing in the West Division. You would
mm,
probably have San Diego most likely as your first round opponent, but it's not Buffalo and it's not Toronto. So who you've had some knockdown, drag out games with, and still have one coming next week at Toronto against the Rock, who, now lead the division and pretty much control their own destiny as far as the East Division title. All they need to do is pretty much win out, and that will include another win over Buffalo. So,
r-
as much as half the playoff teams are locked in, and a couple more may come this weekend. There's still a lot where Philadelphia is right now, as far as jockeying for position, and a lot of those teams are going to be playing each other. And I mean, I didn't even mention Colorado, Saskatchewan, who are also competing for that wild card spot.
No, and like you said though, this is big though. For all the teams in that wild card realm, they are the playoffs start now. Like you said, you really want to go all
Oh yeah,
out, but you kind of need to at this point.
yeah. I mean, every game matters, and like I said, a lot of them are against each other. Colorado and Saskatchewan have a game against each other still. That's in Saskatchewan.
Mm-hmm.
You have Saskatchewan has to play both Georgia and Halifax still. So
Yeah,
that's these are all teams that are right. These five teams pretty much are looking basically for two spots, and
yeah,
and it makes it harder for the likes of Colorado and Saskatchewan because one of those two spots is a guaranteed spot in the East. So
right. And to your point though, like when I think everybody, at least I know all of us guys in the prospects, like once we saw Halifax fall down to Georgia, I think that was like going around in that locker room because like I said, they came out with a different momentum game and they were just they played more confident, they played with more swagger. And like I said, Mitch Jones really setting the tone in that second half by getting two goals back to back again, a breakaway. And then he finds himself burying through the defense and really like a solid night from Blaze Rotonen, only one goal off a power play. But guys like Isaac Allen were stepping up. You had guys, like I said, Taylor Katoni really stepping up, going toe to toe with his brother. So, um, you had guys really making some key plays out there. Again, you can't always rely on Mitch Jones and Joe Ratis. Those guys are your 1A, your dynamic duo, if you will. But
yeah,
you need to get other guys involved, and that's where a lot of defenses are going to key on those two guys to shut down. So then it's like, all right, well, what else do you have to answer with? And you need to come up with getting creative with some guys in the offensive zone and making some plays. Like I said, like I said, I saw a lot of their schemes offensively as far as the Rochester, where they would set schemes up where they would try and like run around where somebody can make the block for the 2-on-1 defensive move for um for the wings, and they would take that wide open look and then just make and make you pay for it. So
yeah. I mean, it really, I think, I think they're approaching the point where maybe you're going to start to see now that this unit's kind of been together for a while, close to half a season. You're going to see maybe more, more two-man games on each side. They're still going to
right.
try to keep they're still going to try to keep you know still going to try to keep the ball going east-west, get your goal, get the opposing goalie moving. Um, especially in some of their upcoming games. They're going to be facing Nick Rose in Toronto. They're going to be facing Doug Jamieson in Albany, and they're going to be facing Hartley again.
Hmm.
To finish out the season in Rochester. So, um, those are guys that you definitely need to get moving side to side in the net. To get them
Hmm.
where they're not set. So you're still going to see plays like that. I still think you're also going to see a little more two-man game going on. Resiteritz and McIntosh, Resiteritz and Leclerc. They make camp.
Right.
They make camp. McIntosh, maybe not so much on the doorstep right in front, but off to the side where he can quick stick.
Yeah.
He is one of the best quick stick guys in the game. I think you're going to see, Jones and Tate Katoni, doing a lot of where, hey, you get someone doubled up, little skip pass and open man right in front of the net. Uh,
Yeah.
that will really obviously work in their favor. Getting the transition goals from guys like Davis Allen, guys like um, Kyle Matisse is also a big help. I think adding Brock Sorensen is going to be a big help to their defense because I don't think Ryan Wagner's 100%. I don't know his status at the moment, but he's got a week off, so maybe we see him up against Toronto next week, back in the lineup. For me,
Yeah.
some of the other questions kind of maybe revolve around what you were saying, where, okay, hey, they played a better second half, but they took their foot off the gas. You always hear these guys talk, we got to play a full 60. And it sounds cliche, but,
It is.
they really do. It can very quickly get frustrating for an offensive unit when you have even two possessions in a row where, you take a little too long to substitute. And then suddenly, by the time you're getting your play rolling, you got 10 seconds left on the 30-second shot clock. Things get
Mhm.
rushed. You end up taking a poorly selected shot, whether it's, just, okay, hey, I'm just going to chuck it from the restraining line and hope I hit top cheese, you know, uh,
Mhm.
something like that. Or, sometimes you see them, they just end up, hey, they see the clock, they just dump it in the back end, try to reset for their defense, but it's a lost possession. Uh, you got to figure, beyond the added possessions they get from having Trevor Baptiste at the face-off,
And
you
he's
know,
been and
those
he's
other
been
ones, you really need to make sure you're taking advantage of them.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been solid for you, and too, like you said, a little bit better of a game from Higgins in between the pipes from Sunday. Usually, he was a mess again. He obviously had to have a bounce back game from obviously 2 weeks ago in
Yeah,
Rochester
and
himself.
I think that was big for him.
Yeah. So again, and when he choked up against Halifax, he knows like he needs. This is like again, this is playoff time. Oh look, our man Mike's back. Hello, Michael.
Hey, man, sorry about that, man. I don't know what's going on here. Mike, welcome, man.
Thank you.
You
Thank you
know,
for having me.
oh, anytime. Listen, I'm a longtime Wings fan. I go back to the days of the Gates brothers, Dallas Elliott. That was my era of Wings, man. I know it's
Yep.
probably historic and ancient, but
Hmm.
to me, dude, like, another guy I bring to mind too is Jake Berge. He played here a long time.
Yep.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask you, with this current, the current, uh, and I was it NLL, the Indoor
Yes.
Lacrosse League,
Yep.
with the current one, who I haven't been following as much as Pat has, so I don't know the players anymore, and I got to get starting next year. I've already told Pat I'm going to start getting reinvested with lacrosse again because I do like it. I feel
That's
it's a
excellent to
very
hear.
Oh, listen, like anything with checking and fights, dude, a person from Philly is going to jump in it. So,
It's
and I
what
know
we
one thing
like do every Sunday morning.
every Sunday. As soon as he starts talking about Major Wood and stuff like that, I'm ready to jump across the table and pound him. But, you know, but let me ask you a question. The teams this year, who is the odds on favorite to win? I mean, because you're naming some of these
Ooh.
teams, like some of these teams I haven't even heard of. Like I didn't even
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So I guess odds on favorite you right now. I mean, right now would probably be a little bit different from the beginning of the season. If you go back to kind of maybe when our crew was done with our all our team previews, I think your top three probably would have been Buffalo, Toronto, and San Diego. Uh, Buffalo, just based on the fact that they'd been to the finals, kind of lost a heartbreaker, but they'd retained most of their team. For Toronto, it was more some of their offseason signings. Getting Chris Corbeil from Saskatchewan, even though he hasn't played a minute on the floor yet because he
Mm.
tore his pectoral muscle in training camp. Um, when he does come back, that defense, with the exception of a couple of hiccups really early in the season, has just been pretty much locked down. Uh, and they've also been dealing with injuries as well. Mitch DeSnew has been out for a little bit now, but you know, uh, They have some great transition guys in Latrell Harris, Josh Jubinville, Brandon Slade, who can really run the ball up the floor quickly and produce goals. We always talk about transition goals being a big deal because, your offense maybe doesn't always, like we just explained, you know, has a couple of bad sets for your offense can really disrupt the flow almost of the game. And that's what kind of contributes, we always talk about game of runs, you know, all it takes is a couple of, just bad possessions, one where you just, you don't substitute quick enough. You got 10 seconds to try to run your set play, and that's not enough time. You just choose a poor shot selection, just kind of hoping, or even where you get into situations where you get into kind of a track meet where you start, okay, hey, we're going to run transition. Okay, they're running transition back. Oh, okay, well, we need to run transition and try to catch them off guard. And those are usually the situations where you're trying to use your speed to get the other team's defense to where, you've got a breakaway or you've got a 2-on-1 and just assignments are not picked up off the bench, or guys just aren't swapping off the bench quickly enough. That's where you can kind of create those goals.
Okay.
And a lot of times you'll see, in close games, 2-goal, 1-goal, 2-goal games, sometimes that's all it takes. You find when you look closer at the stats, okay, hey, we had 10 even strength goals, or, a mix of even strength and power play goals. And so did the other team. But where was the difference? We scored a couple of goals in transition. We had, Davis Allen or Kyle Matisse, scored a goal, on the fly that didn't necessarily come from the offensive unit. And it ends up making the difference in say a 12-10 victory. So, and that's also why most of us all across all the time will tout the importance of faceoffs, even though sometimes there are anomalies, like say, a month ago when Trevor Baptiste went perfect at the dot against New York, but they lost the game.
Yeah.
So
And they're like I said, listen. You and I are putting together that article. Like I said, like I said, I found it interesting on the face-offs compared to wins and all that stuff. Like I found that interesting. So, Mike, one question though before I gotta let you roll. Like I said,
sure.
you guys do a great job. Again, anyone out there listening to the pod, check out Mike. Gary, Sean. Those guys do a phenomenal job every Sunday night at 9 p.m. talking all across all the time. You guys are like three owls. Like the head, you guys just constantly like your heads are spinning on lacrosse, so whether it's ALL, NLL, CBL, everything that has lacrosse in it, college, pro, amateur, you name it, Pee Wee, you guys are on it like I said, 3 hours just spinning and watching all the action. I find it amazing. But I got to ask you if what game are you breaking down today? And if you are just sitting back, it's kind of cold outside. What's your meal plan for that? Because like I said, one thing, like Mike said, one thing us Philadelphians like to do is fight and eat. So, what's your meal plan for today on a day like this?
Meal plan, I'm not entirely sure. I think we might just do turkey burgers tonight. I think we're doing chicken and ham for Easter tomorrow. So don't want to get too loaded up on chicken. So I think we're gonna do turkey burgers tonight. Make it nice and simple. Just grill them up and
there's nothing wrong.
Then
You had to mention
ready.
the bird, Mike. You had to mention the bird, Mike. See, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. If it's got feathers that can fly, Pat is all about it.
All right.
Well, listen,
nothing wrong
Mike.
With that.
No, nothing. Nothing wrong with just jamming one of them and stick it. Oh boy. But anyway, listen, I want Mike, Muffler Mike. I want to say thank you so much for hopping on with us. Again, like, anyone out there, check out Muffler Mike, 9 p.m. Sunday nights. Him, Double G, Double S. Hang out with those guys. I got a spot on the show. I'm thrilled and I'm honored to cover the wings from the Wings Nest. So, but guy, like I said, Mike, thank you so much for hopping on with us, my man.
All right. Anytime, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
Take care. Thanks, Mike. Wings. You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, anytime you want, you can take my spot or no, take his spot. But anyway, see you later, Mike.
All right, take care, guys.
Listen, that was Muffler Mike, guys. But look, before we roll out here, Mike, tomorrow's our last day of the NBA season. No more, tonight we've been getting all the backup play from the 76ers. Um, what I saw from Joel Embiid on Tuesday was phenomenal. 53 points. The guy was just tearing it up. There was, and then like people are getting on him about Thursday. Thursday, they're not even. They're just going through the motions. Like it's not even like Charles Barkley said it best. Like they're going through the motions, not even really playing, just feeling some things out. They got the third seed locked up. Like a lot. Like I got people calling me up and asking, oh, they're not even playing their stars. Like why would you? Like the NFL does. Like once they got a spot locked up, they don't even start their stars. Why? Like you're saving the best for this playoffs now. They're not going any further up the ladder. They're not going anywhere down the ladder. They got the third secured. They're going to play. And I think, just like Barkley kind of said, alluded to too, I think they take the L today because I think they want to play against Brooklyn against in that first round. Because you don't want to, they really want to go against the guys like Miami because Miami will give them the fits. You don't want that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And you know what? I'll tell you what, it was a big win last night for them. If you take a look, everybody chalked that game against Atlanta last night as an L. And then our bench guys come out, they took Atlanta starters to overtime, which guys, before we continue, my apologies. Like I said, I don't know what's going on with this internet. I've had to restart my router and all this other happy horse crap to get running today. But getting back to the Sixers though, Pat, I'm not worried about playing Brooklyn. But Miami showed me something the other night, and I don't know if you caught notice to this, and they were talking about it on the radio, believe it or not. The morning show on 97.5 kind of brought it up. You saw them, they put Bam on James Harden and then put Jimmy Butler on Joel Embiid. And it was kind of working. It was
I saw
working,
that.
and I was like, oh, God. I was like, okay, let's not run into these guys in the postseason.
No, and like I said, one thing the Sixers have struggled with is small point guard play. Guys have legs on them, guys who can run to net, no problem. Like the only thing I don't like about the Sixers sometimes is when they play the 3-2 defense where they put Joel Embiid, they put PJ Tucker on the perimeter, where I think they need to be in the box, guarding the paint, and they'll leave Melton and Maxey in the paint to defend. I'm like, well, that's an easy layup for any big man. So I don't like that setup as well. But like I said, their offense, the ball movement there, I just think, come playoff time, like I said, like you alluded to earlier, Doc kind of went through a bench game yesterday. What he did, he went through a whole bench game yesterday. He's kind of seeing what pieces can work, as far as being doing some big things. So he's going to do dummy down that defense, dummy down the bench, get a couple guys, rotate them, and see who really wants this. And listen, a lot of guys, like you said, they showed off yesterday. A lot of guys are auditioning for another team, so they had to play on fire. So, but anyway. We'll see what happens, come next week, because next week is going to be the telltale story of the 76ers. And we will find out who get first round. So it's going to be an interesting thing. Like I said, tomorrow, if you guys want to see more bench play from the Sixers, that's all you're going to get tomorrow.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And that's it. And you know what? I'm happy with that. My only question is, though, Pat, what I've been saying all year, for some odd reason, I just feel like it's going to come to fruition. I feel like they're going to get past the first round. It's going to be fool's gold. And then they're going to link up with the Celtics. And then that's as far as they're going. Like, I don't see them beating the Celtics the best of 7. I'm sorry. I don't. I think it's going to be another year. And I think Doc's going to lose his job. And I would let Harden walk. But I don't see them winning. I really don't. I think the line ends second round again, unfortunately.
See, this is where I kind of feel different. Well, like I said, you and I both, regular season playoffs are two different animals. And this regular season, the Sixers kind of had their number, had the Celtics number, where they were, again, Embiid put up 50 points, losing by a nose hair. So, other than that,
but there was no Jaylen Brown and no starting center. Their starting center was out that game.
Like I said, the playoffs are going to be, it's the X factor.
And like I said, is Harden going to disappear this postseason? Because he's got a tendency to do that. Like, to me, I think the only saving grace is when the playoffs happen, Tobias Harris normally steps up. Normally
You're
steps
going
up.
to
But
have
even with him stepping up, I just don't think they got enough to beat the Celtics. I think the ride ends in round 2.
like you said, you named a couple of X factors. One is James Harden going to be visible, not invisible, visible. Is the perimeter play shooting going to be there for you? And the most important, will Embiid be healthy through the whole ride? That's the most important X factor. If he's not healthy, if you've seen it, if he's not there on the floor, forget it. It's over. But listen, guys, I do want to say, listen, we're just up against it. I want to say, Mike, thank you so much. As always, my man Mike Laro, catch him here Thursday nights doing his pod on Out of Box. He does a great job. He does a phenomenal
I'm
job.
also on College Football Frenzy too. Wednesday
Yeah,
nights over there on
friend,
Out of the
like you
Box.
said, you're everywhere, dude. You're like me, everywhere, but you know,
Yeah, we
everywhere,
are. We're
but
just everywhere, but
we're just everywhere.
we're
But
everywhere.
anyway, I want to say, thank you, Connor Thomas, for joining the show. I want to say thank you to Muffler Mike for joining our show. Bringing down some wings. Because guys, if there's any time for you to become a Wings fan, Joe Sullivan got to see it 2 weeks ago with me. This is the time to become a Wings fan because their playoffs start now. So guys, and our Sixers will start. So the Sixer playoff conversation will start heat up again next week. So guys, check out all the shows here on. Oh my God, I almost did a show without even getting to the sponsors. What was I thinking? Not
Yeah, I
one
was
of my
just about to say.
but listen, Mike. So Mike, please, for me acting like an idiot, tell him about this guy over here.
Hold on. The banner. Where did they hide
It's
them?
up.
There you go. There's our boy David R. Cherry. Make sure if you need anything for workers' compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, or criminal law, make sure you dial 610-565-0300 and tell them that the boys from EOP sent you over. And then, of course, after that, you okay, where they?
I got him up for you.
There we go. Of course, guys, there you go, cool. You run them out, I'll speak them. Guys, if you're in the Delco area, make sure you stop by Dolan's Bar, 24 East Sellers Avenue in Ridley Park for Quizzo music, great times, and memorabilia giveaways. Make sure you go see our boy PJ over at Dolan's, and he will definitely take care of you. Guys, later on today, if you feel like going to the game, make sure you go down to there's the guy. Where is going on here? This thing is not.
I got you, Mike.
Here. No, all right. It doesn't want to stay on, brother. I don't know what's going on. All right. Just want tickets to the game but can't get in? Go to Sherry's Tickets right now. Sherry'sTickets.com. Enter the code EOP10. That is our code, our promotional code. Make sure you'll save an additional 10%. What you see is what you pay. No hidden fees. Guys, definitely go over there. I know I'm doing that as well. So, and of course, if you want to go on the road, make sure you do this. PhillySportsTrips.com. Vince is a great guy. I did a sports trip earlier this year. Me and Big Al, our producer, usually. Me and him went to the trip to DC to go see the birds. Guys, coming up next is the I'm so sorry. Coming up next, make sure you check out all the trips over there. This is our lineup over there. Sorry, Pat. I had to mute you there for a second. All right, did mute you. I unmuted you. There you go. There's our lineup. Make sure you check it all out. Of course, we're not on Sunday, so just make sure you check us out. Besides myself, Pat, Matty B will be checking in doing the Phillies final, which, by the way, I have today. So I'll be on just a little later on today for the Fightins final. So make sure you tune in for that. Pat, again, what's your meal of the day, bub?
We're going to do some pasta tonight, buddy. We're going to do some pasta for the Phils. But look, Mike, I will check you out a little later. Guys, thank you for everyone who checked out the show. We'll catch up with you Sunday next week.
One thing before you go. We got to wish our man Al Safari a very, very speedy recovery.
Yes.
Hope you feel better, buddy.
Yeah, Mike, Al, get better. We know you've been dealing with some butt pains, so we hope you get better. See you, buddy.